What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, Ben Bally, and back with another episode of the Sports Pod. And today is part 22 of the 82-part series where I will be recapping the rest of the Knicks games. I missed a couple, I'm back, and that's it. But for today, Knicks beat the Raptors last night. Gonna get into that one. And also the Giants pull off a big win against the Green Bay Packers. Made Jordan Love look like he doesn't deserve a starting job in the NFL. Their defense is what's keeping them alive in the NFL playoffs right now. Like if they had a really bad defense, or even like a semi-bad defense, then their season will be 100% over, mathematically eliminated, like the Cardinals and the Patriots now are. But Bobby Okereke, Deontay Banks, Kayvon Thibodeau had a sack last night, at least one, maybe two. Dexter Lawrence, those guys have been playing really well. And Tommy Cutlets, baby. Tommy Cutlets, Tommy DeVito. He's been going balling out these past 3 weeks ever since he got the starting job. But we're going to start off with some Knicks talk first. And I want to get into the injuries for the Knicks. And it's not looking good for them right now in terms of that. The Knicks, we just got news yesterday that Mitchell Robinson is going to be out for at least 8 to 10 weeks. He'll be reevaluated. Then he has a left ankle injury, and he needs surgery on it, which is the last thing you want to hear. As a fan and as a player, injuries suck, and you just don't want them to happen at all. But he's going to be out for at least 2 months, which is huge, especially for this next stretch of maybe 8-9 games. Like the Knicks have to play the Suns and the Clippers on a back-to-back this week out west, and then they get a day off and they play the Lakers in Crypto.com Arena. They come home and they face the Nets in Brooklyn. That's always a fun matchup. Crosstown rivalry, battle of the boroughs, Knicks and Nets. Shout out Keith. That's Keith's team. Looking for the Knicks to get a big win there. Show Brooklyn that we own New York and this is our city. But then you go home on the 23rd, you got to play the Bucks at home, and then 2 days later on Christmas, you got to play them at home again, and that's gonna finish the 5-game series that they're gonna end up playing versus the Knicks this year. Actually, they're gonna have one more game in April, but that's gonna. I almost don't mind playing them so much so early in the season because then you get it out of the way and you still have time to recover if you struggle against them like we have struggled against them. And then you can get your roster better at the trade deadline, be more prepared for the next time you play them in April. And that's going to be a big game. If the Knicks are in the playoffs and looking for seeding, that's right at the end of their schedule. Let's see, at that point in April, they're going to have 4 games, and that's their 5th to last game. And they do have to play the Celtics and the Nets after that. But the other 2 games in April during that time period are against the Bulls, which is going to be nice to hopefully get some easy wins late in the season and help our playoff position. But then after the 2 games with the Bucks, you got to go out to OKC and play the Thunder. The Thunder, they've been good this season. They're second in the West. They've been really good. And Shea's taken a step. Chet Holmgren's looked like a Rookie of the Year candidate. And they look scary. And they're young, too. Who knows what's going to happen with Josh Giddey, but he's a really good player. And then to finish out the month of December and to finish out the calendar year, you got to play the Magic on Friday and then go out to Indiana for an absolute track meet and play the Pacers and Obi Toppin. Now I'm looking at the Magic game because the Magic at home this year have been really good. And if you look at the Magic, their home record, they're 11-2 at home. Now, the Knicks, they're a better road team. But the Magic have looked really good. Jalen Suggs has been good. Markelle Fultz has been really good. I thought his career was going to be over after that shoulder injury problem that's been holding him back his whole NBA career. He was so good in college at, where'd he go? He went to, I think it was Marquette. And then he came to the NBA, struggled on the Sixers, had some really, had that one really wacky free throw where he like double clutched it as he was shooting. And he never was the player that he was supposed to be. And then Paolo Banchero, the reigning rookie of the year, has been really good as well. This whole team has provided for them. And then you look at Cole Anthony. They moved him to the sixth man this year, and that's been a way better spot for him on this team. He fits that role better than anybody else does on that team. And that's what I think, relating it back to the Knicks, with Quentin Grimes going to the bench, I think he plays a better role on the bench than he does in the starting lineup. He started off the season really slow. He was frustrated, and we'll get into that all later again. I have some more stuff I want to say about it that I didn't touch on in the last episode. But he started off slow, was frustrated, got moved to the bench, and now he's been playing better. And then the last game of the calendar year, you got to go out and play the best scoring offense in the league, the Indiana Pacers. Now, what the Knicks did last night in putting up 136 points in a win over the Raptors makes me think that the Knicks might be able to keep up with the fast pace, fast scoring, a ton of buckets, scoring Indiana Pacers. The Pacers, they're only fifth in the East, and if they played one less game than the Knicks, that's why they're the fifth seed and the Knicks are the sixth. But this is a game that the Knicks can win. It's going to be tough, and it's going to be a lot of scoring and a lot of fast pace. These guys got to be ready to run the entire game, all 48 minutes. But the Knicks will be able to do it if they can do that. And Tyrese Halliburton has looked like an MVP candidate, and I'm happy for Obi. I like Obi. I don't have any bad feelings, hard feelings about him. We traded him. I think it was the right move for both sides, and we see what he's done after he got moved to the Pacers in the offseason for just 2 second-round picks. Obi Toppin this year. He's averaging this season. He's averaged in 24 minutes. He's averaging 12 points, which is something he's never done on the Knicks. And then in the in-season tournament, he had a really nice alley-oop lob catch and threw it down from Halliburton, who was on the other side of the logo. That was a really nice play, and it shows you just how good Halliburton is. And he's taken a huge step, because last year he was an all-star reserve replacement, and I didn't even think he should have been that. But then you look to the first game in January, and the first couple games in January, things aren't getting any easier. You got to face the Timberwolves, so the top team in the West. Then you play the Bulls, a nice game. You should get easy win there. Then you got to play the Sixers and beat him, Maxey. Maxey's taking a huge leap as well. Quickly's Kentucky teammate. A couple easy games against the Wizards and Blazers. Then you got to play the Mavericks and Grizzlies and Magic 3 games in a row. Ja Morant's coming back in a couple days. He'll be fully acclimated he'll be back in his groove by that point, as long as he can stay out of trouble. And then you got Luka Doncic. He's still putting up historic numbers. It's insane. And then you got to play the Magic again. I just went through all of that. And then things cool off. You got to play the Nuggets and Heat at a point in January. But after that, things should get a little bit easier for the Knicks. So the Robinson injury is going to be huge because he's going to be out for all of those games. And we're not going to have our top five rim protector in the league and the best rebounder in the league. Hartenstein's going to have to step up. Sims is going to have to step up. Next man up mentality. Let's go. And then this isn't as much about the Robinson injury as it is just what's coming from it. Jericho Sims is started last night at the center. He doesn't even get playing time normally. So I thought that Hartenstein should be starting. He's not as good at rebounding and rim protection, but he's right up there. He's probably a top 5 rebounder in the league. He's gritty. He'll grind. He'll give you everything you want. And he gives more offense than Robinson does. The one thing I will say about Sims is he's really bouncy and he can get up. You saw it. He participated in the dunk contest last year and had maybe one of the worst dunks I ever saw, where he did the honeycomb from Vince Carter, which was sick. But then he pulled a piece of paper out of his pocket and ripped the paper almost in half while he was still hanging on the rim, which was cool and all. But then it said 50, and none of the judges gave him even close to that. I like Sims, though. I think he's a good player. And when he gets his time, I think, which he will right now for the next 2 months, maybe more, I think he'll be able to prove himself as a solid player in the league. He might not be the best. He's not going to be the best, obviously, but he's going to be a good role player, and I think he should stay with the second unit or play with the second unit because this has been his only game where he's gotten real minutes, not garbage time minutes. But yeah, I don't think Hartenstein should be starting. Hartenstein did have more minutes though, 27-21 last night, and more points. Hartenstein in double figures, one of the 6 Knicks to be in double figures. And 3 of those Knicks had 20 or more points, and one of them had 34, that being Julius Randle. But Hartenstein, he had 11 points, and somehow that was the second least off the bench. And I still want to talk about that later, but I think he should be starting, and that's it. And then last thing I want to say about the Robinson injury, or 2 more things actually. Randall's going to have to play a lot of defense. Go help the block. You in the paint. You know your guys aren't as good as Robinson anymore. He's one of the best in the league to do it. Like, you're going to have to help Sims. This is a young player who hasn't gotten many minutes in his career. Hartenstein, although he's still, I think he's a 7-footer, he's not going to get as many blocks as Robinson. He's going to get posted up more. And Randall's just got to help that, and I think the guards will help that also. All right, last thing, and this is important. Robinson misses a little bit of time every single year. So as the Knicks, you got to account for that, and you got to add more depth. Hartenstein could leave after this year. He's an unrestricted free agent. Is Sims going to be your backup center? Who knows? If he plays really well over these next 2 months, then he might be. He very well could be. He's still on a rookie deal for at least 1 more, maybe 2 more years. And I wouldn't mind that. That's still a lot of rim protection and rebounding. But then, after that, what are you going to do? And what if Robinson's going to get hurt? And if you only have Sims, who's your next option? Who's your backup center? Is it Randall? It can't be. So you got to go out there this offseason and get more depth if you're Leon Rose. I think we have enough guards now. Maybe grab a forward or 2. but definitely get at least one big man. One big. All right, that's all I want to say about the Robinson injury. But there are a couple other injuries I want to talk about. Starting with Emmanuel quickly. He has a knee injury. He was listed at game time decision, and he was eventually ruled out. And he's a game time decision for Wednesday's matchup against the Jazz. And if he doesn't play, I don't mind it. I love Quickly, but it's still early enough in the season, a little bit over a quarter of the way through, and Grimes can pick up the slack off the bench. He's a shooter. He knows how to create for himself, and he could do everything that Quickly does. A little bit not as good. I think Quickly's better, but he can still do that at a high level, which I think will be okay. So I kind of want Quickly to sit out, get to 100%, make sure you're all the way ready to come back, and then come back in and keep doing what he's been doing. And then my last point on this is that it might be a lingering issue, which is why I want him to get to 100% first before he comes back. All right, and then the last injury I want to talk about, Jalen Brunson. He's not injury prone, but the way he plays, he's so physical. He averages among point guards in the NBA. He averages the second most per game, only behind Steph Curry, who averages 6.9, and Brunson averages 5. So he's getting whacked around a lot. I I don't know if it was Kenny or Ernie last Tuesday during the halftime show. They said that Randall and Brunson play like wrecking balls, and they're gonna be in the middle of a lot of contact. And in Brunson's case, at least, he's a strong guy, but if you're taking that much contact as a smaller guy, because he's only 6'2", I think, and then you're gonna get injured at some point, which goes back to my point of depth. He's gonna miss at least 3 or 4 games a year. So Quickly's good depth there. Then you got Grimes, Hart and DiVincenzo are good. So I don't know if they need a lot more depth there, but just making sure that those guys are ready to go in the case that Brunson gets injured. And he's had nagging injuries all season. He came out with a thumb injury. Then it was a hip injury. He had a quad injury. He has an ankle injury right now. Like, he's gonna get injured. All right, that's all I want to say about the injuries. For now, the injury bug has definitely hit the Knicks, and it's not something I want to continue for very longer, because we need to start playing better fast, because before you know it, they're at 13-9 right now. But there have been points in the season where we're just not playing well at all, and that needs to change. All right, I think the best part about the Knicks right now is their bench, and especially since Quentin Grimes moved over there. 19 points off the bench the other day. 19 points on 7 of 11 from the field and 5 of 7 from deep. That is huge for Grimes. 5 of 7. He's taking 7 3-pointers. His combined 3-pointers from the rest of the season when he was starting probably didn't don't add up to much more than that. And 11 shots, that's big for him. Get him into a rhythm and keep him on the bench. I've changed my opinion now. I think Dante fits the role better, and Grimes is more of a bench player or a role player who can give you 19 points on any given night, and he can give more than that. He can easily have a 20-25 point performance. And then, so this is the quote he said after last week's in-season tournament game where the Knicks got blown out against the Bucks. He said, this was the frustration that he said he was feeling about not being in rhythm. It's just hard when you go the whole quarter without touching the ball. So it's tough going out there and standing in the corner the whole game. Which I can't be mad at him for that. And this goes back to what I said in the last episode, where the Knicks starters, it's a lot of iso ball and it's a lot of pounding. But that's got to change, and they got to get everybody involved. And I don't even know about that anymore with Grimes going to the bench, because I think he's more of a scorer. He is a really good two-way player. He can defend. He's probably more of a defender, but his scoring is better than what he showed over the first quarter of the season before he got benched. He had started 83 consecutive games before Friday night against the Celtics. And then I just want to talk about the bench as a whole and what they've done for the Knicks this season. Because you look at them, and Josh Hart said it today, they can take over a game at any time. They can go on a run at any time. They just need to be moving the ball and getting stops. And that's it. Because they'll get out in transition. They'll do what they need to, as long as they're getting stops, which is huge. You look at the game, the in-season tournament game against Miami. The Knicks were down 22. The Tibbs puts the bench guys in. They storm back and they win that game. You look at the in-season tournament game against Charlotte. They were only leading by 1 point. Tibbs puts some of the bench guys in. They go on a run. They win that game by 24 points and clinch the wild card. They're huge. The Knicks wouldn't be anywhere without them. And it starts with the Villanova guys. Josh Hart, I know Dante's starting now, but Dante DiVincenzo. And then the Kentucky Wildcat, Emmanuel Quickly. All right, that's all I want to say about the Knicks. Big win the other day, or last night against the Raptors, 136-130. And it's going to start a hard stretch for them. Hard part of this season. All right, I want to talk about the Packers and Giants game really quick. Monday Night Football. The Giants had lost their last 9 primetime games leading up to this, and the Packers had won their last 14 matchups or games in December. But Tommy DeVito and the Giants broke both of those streaks as the Giants win 24-22. Saquon with the big game, 2 touchdowns, only 86 yards, but he's getting the job done. And then it's the defense. They had Jordan Love on his heels all night. He could not get settled in. He did not get into a rhythm. That was huge for the Giants. Absolutely ginormous. And this whole Tommy DeVito story, it's really amazing. He started off undrafted rookie from Jersey. Giants signed him for some more depth. He ends up getting a starting job. He's 3-0 now. He's beat the Commanders and he's beat the Packers. And then 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago was it now, he beat let's see, the Packers, and the Patriots. So I know the Patriots and Commanders aren't good teams, but this is an undrafted rookie, the Jersey kid getting his shot and making the most of it, relishing his opportunity in the league. And then his agent last night was wearing some crazy suit. It looked like it looked straight out of Willy Wonka, is what I thought at first. And then he had a crazy moment with Tommy's dad when they ended up winning the game. It was just a crazy game and a lot of fun to watch, which is something the Giants, I was expecting coming into the season, and it hasn't happened. But last night on Monday Night Football, it definitely did happen. Giants get the win 24-22. Got a tough matchup coming up next against the Saints. I think they could pull this one off. The Saints haven't been very good this season. Derek Carr in his first season as the Saints quarterback has not been on the same page as any of his receivers. And it's shown. They haven't been very good. So I think the Giants could pull one out and keep their playoff hopes alive. All right, that's going to do it for this episode. I'm your host, Ben Ballion, and this was the Sports Pod.